A general walked the battlefields of World War II with a strange question. Not who died, not who won, but who actually pulled the trigger. The answer, he reported, was so disturbing, the army could not ignore it. 4 out of 5 riflemen, he claimed, never fired at the enemy at all. Years later, the army would set out to train that hesitation away. Picture a man crouched behind a wall. The enemy is 20 feet away and closing. His rifle is loaded, his hands work, and his finger simply will not squeeze. His friends are falling around him. Still, nothing. The shot never comes. Now multiply that one man by an entire army. That is the claim that started everything. To understand it, you have to stand in that man's boots. His name was SLA Marshall. Soldiers called him Slam. He was a brigadier general and a combat historian. His job was to understand how battles really happened. Not from maps, from the men who survived them. After a firefight, he would gather the company together. While the memory was still raw, he asked them to rebuild the fight. Who moved, who hid, and crucially, who shot. He called it the after-action group interview. He claimed to have done this for hundreds of rifle companies. In 1947, he published his findings in a book. Its title was Men Against Fire. And it landed like a grenade. Generals assumed a soldier fires because he is told to. Marshall said the order stops at the trigger finger. Marshall claimed only 15 to 20% of riflemen ever fired at the enemy, even under direct attack, even when ordered to. If true, the brass had reason to go pale. Most of their soldiers, the book suggested, were ghosts in a gunfight. Present, armed, willing to die, but unwilling to kill. So Marshall asked the obvious question, why? His answer was not the one anyone expected. He said it was not fear. He said it was not weakness. And he insisted it was not cowardice. He argued something stranger lived inside us. A deep, innate resistance to killing our own kind. This was Marshall's theory, not a proven law. But he believed it explained everything. Think what that resistance would have to overcome. Training, orders, fury, even the will to survive. And still, he claimed, the finger refuses. The men who froze, he said, were not running away. Many performed under fire without flinching. They carried ammunition through the chaos. They ran messages along the line. They dragged the wounded to safety. They held their ground and refused to break. They would do almost anything, except aim at a living man and squeeze. If Marshall was right, the implication was staggering. Every army on Earth rested on a hidden flaw. A flaw buried in human nature itself. It was a deeply uncomfortable thing to suggest. That the ideal soldier might be fighting himself. And the idea did not stay in World War II. It reached backward, hunting for older proof. It reached all the way to Gettysburg. 1863, one of the bloodiest days on American soil. After the battle, crews collected the abandoned muskets. Nearly 27,000 of them. And here the numbers turn eerie. Around 24,000 were still loaded. A loaded musket usually means it was never fired. Roughly 12,000 were loaded more than once. Powder and ball, stacked on top of unfired powder and ball. One musket, it is said, had been packed 23 times. 23 loads, not a single shot. Some later read this as men going through the motions. Loading, 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 but never killing. It became one of history's most quoted battlefield clues. Now here's the honest part. Historians dispute that reading sharply. A loaded musket can mean many things. It can mean a misfire in the smoke. It can mean a barrel fouled with residue. It can mean panic and forgotten steps. It can mean a man shot dead mid-reload. So the muskets are suggestive, not proof. Keep that doubt in your pocket, because the whole story is about to crack open. Good history lives exactly in that discomfort. For 40 years, Marshall's number was treated as gospel. Quoted in lectures, printed in manuals, trusted by armies. Then a historian named Roger Spiller went looking. Not for the theory, for the evidence behind it. He opened Marshall's surviving papers. He searched for the statistics, the counts, the math. And he found almost nothing. No tables of who fired and who did not. Almost none of the field notebooks. The systematic study simply was not there. Then Spiller noticed something worse. Marshall's own numbers kept changing. One account put it near 400 companies. Another raised the figure to 603. Elsewhere it was something over 500. Precise data does not wander like that. In 1988, Spiller delivered his verdict. The systematic collection of data, he wrote, appears to have been an invention. The famous ratio of fire may have been a story. Marshall, it seemed, had felt a truth, and then dressed it up as a measurement. It is a very human thing to do. Feel a pattern, then build numbers to defend it. So was the whole thing a lie? Here is the twist inside the twist. Even Spiller did not think Marshall was simply wrong. He still believed a fraction of men do most of the killing. Soldiers across centuries describe the same frozen finger. The hesitation may be real, whatever its true size. The dispute is not whether men flinch. It is whether Marshall ever truly measured it. Both things can be true at once. And while the scholars argued over the data, the army had already acted on his claim. They did not wait for proof. They went to work on the soldier's instinct. First, they threw out the old target, the round bullseye, fired slowly at a distance. It taught aim. It taught nothing about killing a man. In its place came human silhouettes, shapes that popped up, then vanished in seconds. No time to think, only time to react. Shoot on reflex before conscience can speak. And when you hit it, the target dropped. Instant reward, instant feedback. Hit, drop, repeat. Hit, drop, repeat. Psychologists call this operant conditioning. Reward a behavior until it becomes automatic. The aim, critics argue, was not better marksmanship. It was rewiring the flinch itself, turning a moral hesitation into pure muscle memory. The soldier would no longer decide in the moment. His training would decide for him, and the reported numbers began to climb. Whatever the true World War II baseline was. By the Korean War, the cited fire rate reached roughly half. By Vietnam, the figures climbed toward 90% and above. Remember, these numbers trace back to Marshall and Grossman too. So treat them as reported, not gospel. But the direction is hard to deny. More men, it seems, were firing than before. Something had shifted, even if the exact size is fuzzy. The reflex drills seemed to be doing their job. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman gave the idea a name. He argued training now bypasses the instinct against killing. That is his interpretation, and it is debated. Then Grossman issued a darker warning. The same conditioning logic, he claimed, lives elsewhere. In the violent games we hand our children, that leap is his and many reject it. Take it as a provocation, not a verdict. Whatever you make of his bigger claims, the core mechanic itself is not really in doubt. You can drill a human being past his own hesitation. Now strip away every disputed number. Strip the ratio. Strip Gettysburg. Strip the doubts. One uncomfortable possibility refuses to leave. There may be something in us that resists destroying another. It is quiet, it is fragile, and it appears to be real. And here is what should give you pause. Armies seem to have shown that flinch can be trained away. A reflex against killing drilled out of a man. Replaced by a trigger pull he never has to feel. That is an extraordinary thing to be able to do. And it works on far more than just soldiers. So look down at your own hands. Somewhere in you may sit a break. An instinct that says, not this, not him. They may have found a way to switch it off. Which leaves one question you cannot unask. What else inside you could be conditioned away if someone decided it should be?